Hello, I'm Emma of Granola Gear, and I'm so excited to be chatting with you again today about what I have been working on lately. I'm really excited about the progress that I've made in some of these pieces, and I have one finished object, but another one is really close to being done, so I'm psyched to get to cast on some stuff, probably with the yarn that I talked about pretty recently. I dug out all of my sweaters last week, which is so exciting, and right now I'm wearing the Champagne cardigan by Petite Knit. This is knit in the Knit Picks Indian Silk, which is a discontinued yarn. I actually picked it up at a thrift store. It's a wool, alpaca, and silk blend, and I love this yarn. I think it's like perfection. I probably never would have been able to afford it if I was buying it new. Not that you can buy it new anymore, but it's a really fantastic yarn. I think the silk gives it a nice, like, little bit of shine in it. I don't know if you can tell through the camera, but it also makes it like a bit more sturdy overall, kind of like if you would have a little bit of nylon or something in a yarn. It just makes it hold up really well. And that's how I feel about this. I definitely need to do a little depilling on all of my sweaters, but I'll get to that eventually. I have one finished object today that I just finished up that I've been working on for a little while, so that's exciting. And another piece that's really close to being done, which is exciting because then I can cast on something else. So let us get into it this week. My one finished object this week, and it was pretty close to being done last time, is my April cardigan. Dee, 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 dee. I just sewed the buttons on, so the only thing that's not finished is I haven't woven in the ends from the buttons, as you can see a little bit on the bottom there. I love how this piece turned out in the end. It's very nice. It's like a little bit of a, I guess, more rustic yarn. I wouldn't necessarily say rustic. It's the Jagerspun. I'm not really sure which one still. Mainline. It's a DK weight yarn in daffodil. I still have quite a bit left. I definitely could have knit a medium, but instead of a small, which is what I did knit. But it's kind of hard with like a cone, and especially because I got it at the thrift store. I was like, what if this isn't the whole cone? What if someone used a chunk of it and like I'm not gonna have enough for even the one sweater? I don't want to like size up and then just hope I have enough, because I'm not gonna buy a whole new $60 cone to finish like a sleeve or something. But it worked out and it's fine. I haven't worn this out and about yet, but I think it'll be a nice piece. I'll have to figure out what I'm gonna wear it with, but I still have quite a bit of that yellow yarn that now I have to figure out what on earth I want to do with it. But it's a fun little cute sweater. I think the April cardigan, because it's very simple and kind of small. It feels like, I don't know, it's a very girly fun thing, and like doing it in a color like this is great. It's still a little bit, we've got a little bit of the bumpiness up here from it being on too small of a cord when I was knitting the yoke, but it is what it is. That's fine. The rest of it looks good. And honestly, that kind of texture is just what makes it handmade. The most brutal part with knitting this sweater is doing the Italian bind off on the whole button band, but it's worth it. I thrifted a bunch of like vintage buttons recently from the thrift store. Thrifted from the thrift store, obviously. And I just added these like plastic white pearly buttons. I had some other ones, but I felt like that fit with the vibe we've got going here. So we'll move on to works in progress. My first piece has been very long term, so if you've been watching this for a while, you know this guy. But I've made a ton of progress since last time, and that is my Cumulus top. I started knitting this with unraveled cashmere from a thrifted sweater, or two different thrifted sweaters, a white one and a pink one. And I was using the Cumulus T V-neck pattern, and I just decided to add sleeves once I realized that I was going to have enough yarn. So I finished both of the sleeves. I did another little block in between because I wasn't sure about the length. So this sleeve is partially blocked. This one is not blocked at all. There's such a big difference in the fabric. It's so funny. I ended up doing the same rate of, actually that's funny, there's like a color difference there between the blocked and unblocked bits of the sweater. You probably can't tell in the video, or maybe it's the yarn. I don't know. It just looks a little different. That's so funny. So I ended up doing the same rate of decreases for the sleeves as is listed in the pattern. So for the size small, which is what I knit, I did a decrease every 12th round, every 12th row. And I was trying it on to make sure that it was like fitting correctly and all that and was the right length. I did 11 decreases. And then after the 11th decrease, I knit 23 more rows. And then I did the I-cord edge. I did not do the decreases in the I-cord edge as is listed for the t-shirt. I don't love that look. And it was already a plenty tapered enough sleeve. It didn't need to be like, I wouldn't be able to fit my hand through if I did decreases. I used a US 2 for the I-cord. It says to use a US 1.5. The only US 1.5 I have is a 9-inch circular for socks. And I didn't really think it needed to be that much tighter. Same thing for the collar. I did the finishing I-cord, applied I-cord for the edge. I actually haven't looked at myself in a mirror wearing this yet. You know what? I bet the reason this is a slightly different color is I blocked it with something else and it picked up color. Uh-oh. I guess it'll get washed again, so it's fine. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I just need to make the body a little bit longer. It looks pretty long, but I have plenty of yarn left and I want to make sure that it's like as long as I want it to be and I'm not accidentally cropping it. So yeah, and then I'll do the I-cord edge and she'll be done. I'm really excited for this to be done. It's been such a long-term piece for me because I paused it over the summertime. But like I feel good with spending this long on something. Now that I've seen the color difference, I can't unsee it. I just couldn't see it before. Dang, that's crazy. That sucks. It's been such a long-term project for me. I'm glad that it's going to be done and it's not getting like abandoned or something, because that always sucks when you like put a lot of initial time into something and then you just sort of give up on it. That's not ideal. So yeah, I'll be ready for this to be done. I still am probably gonna have some yarn left, but that'll probably hang out in my stash for a while. That is the first WIP. The second one, I haven't made a ton of progress on, but I have made a little bit. And that's the Beatrix cardigan by Gregoria Fibers. I paused on the body and started on a sleeve. That's really all that's going on. I can actually kind of work on this without looking because the yarn is, I don't know, stays together enough. I just have to like look for the cable. Obviously, that's the one thing, but it's not too bad. This one's definitely going to be a labor of love. It's going to take a long time, but it's not going so slow. It's just going to take a while. This is knit with an unraveled sweater yarn that's kind of this like, it looks really warm in this camera, I know, but it is like a pearl gray color in person. It's 80% wool, 20% nylon. So that is that. Nothing too exciting on that one. And then my last piece was a recent cast on. And this was in the Jody Long Chow, the superwash yarn in the color Midnight that I got in my last podcast. I talked about it. And I cast on the Maggie vest. And this guy is so curly in this superwash at this gauge. So it looks kind of crazy unblocked without the ribbing, but it's so funny. It's like the densest. It's quite dense. I mean, I see how you could definitely wear it as like a tank top, but this is going to be really pretty. I just joined, like I literally just joined it for the body section. I cranked through the like yoke, I guess you'd call it, even though it's a vest. And I don't have buttons for this yet. I have to look through the vintage buttons that I have. Most of them were on the smaller side, so I'm not sure if I have any that will be the right size for this, but I have to look at what she says you should use in the pattern. I really liked this pattern, and I think it'll be like a good piece that I can wear in the office. It's also got a lot of white fuzz on it from other sweaters, but that's okay. I'm excited about it. The next piece I want to cast on, I want to cast on the Brady loop pullover by Other Loops, but it's also going to be knit in this yarn in the pink that I have, and I'm not sure if I want to knit two pieces in this yarn at the same time or if I want to start something else. This is kind of my small piece for the moment. I try to have 3 pieces going, usually like one small, one longer term, and like one kind of in the middle. So this is my small piece because I kind of had a lot of big projects going on at once, so I needed to start something small before I started something else big. It was just too much to have like another full sweater going. But we will see. And I will note, I was going to include this in my finished objects, but I forgot. I acquired last week, so I guess I'll add it to the acquisitions discussion. I acquired last week a Nitty Naughty, or 2 weeks ago now, And I spent like the last 2 weeks, a big part of what I was doing was hanging up all of my unraveled sweater yarns. I don't really care about things that are just in cakes that are leftover yarns because I know what those are and I can weigh them and figure out how much I have exactly. But for the sweaters that I unravel, like obviously it's not a cut and dry, like this is what weight it is. Like I have to gauge swatch it and like whatever and figure out, like it's really sort of guesswork when it comes to yardage. I'm sure there's other ways you could do it. It's just eh, it was just usually me guessing because it was too much of a pain to figure out otherwise. So I've hanged it all up and it has made a huge difference in how my yarn is organized. I'll add a picture. I'll see if I can find what it looked like before, because stacking cakes on a bookshelf was like, then you've got like 3 or 4 cakes deep in the shelf and you can't see everything. But now that it's all hanks, they all sit in the shelf, taking up the full depth, and I can see all of them. I can see how many. I like wrote out little tags for each of them with like the yardage so I know what it is, and it's so much more organized. It's not like falling out, which is amazing. It's such a blessing. I'm so happy about it. But I finished that and I knew I was going to be really tired of it by the end, which I kind of was, but it was worth the initial effort. And now, from now on, when I unravel a sweater, I'll only be hanging up that one sweater, not like a bunch of sweaters, not 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5, 6, 7-ish sweaters worth of yarn. Not really 7. Some of them are partial because they're leftovers. But yeah, so that is good. I need to, when I pulled out my sweaters last week, I talked about how I'm probably going to unravel my Sunday cardigan. That's the next thing I'm going to unravel. And then I'll figure out how much I have and what I could make it into. So there's that. I have one acquisition. I wasn't really planning on having an acquisition, but there is one project that I want to start on the side to probably be able to knit on the train on my way to work now that like my knitting dynamic has changed a little bit. I wanted something easier and smaller. I didn't really want to do like a shawl or a scarf, and I had an idea. So I will go grab that because I forgot to. 1 second. So I was at Michael's, and it was actually like I posted on my stories a couple things because I hadn't been to a Michael's in a while and looked at the yarn. It was kind of interesting what they had. They had like, I mean, generally they have more acrylic dominant yarn. They had one acrylic that was like kind of a mohair dupe. I'm sure it would not wear well. It would like get pilly once you wore it and washed it and all that, but it was still kind of cool. They had a 55% superwash, 45% acrylic yarn that was like a DK weight, it looked like. $10 for 400 yards, which if you're on a budget, that's a great option because that is still like way more wool than they usually put in big box craft store yarns. Like things like Woolies, I think Woolies is probably like 20, maybe 15% wool, and then the rest of it is acrylic, and that's like not very much. But 55% superwash is actually like probably going to be more like a wool sweater than just an acrylic would be. So that's pretty cool. And there was also like a Lion brand roving wool that was just like a 1-ply wool, and they had some nice colors, and it also wasn't a bad price, and it was 100% wool, and there really aren't many of those there. So I went in because I'm planning to work on some like I'm gonna do some versions of like a Stella quilt, but not really. I'm planning on knitting like some baby blankets to donate, and I decided I wanted to get some acrylic yarn because I didn't have any acrylic yarn and I don't really have any yarns that are appropriate for that kind of thing. So I went and picked some up. I'll put in my sketch picture of what I want to do, but I'm going to do a Stella quilt cushion panel with the actual motif in the middle. And then I'm going to knit square. This is going to be a 3x3, so 9 squares. And then I'm going to knit alternating square colors around, so that like it's still getting the motif and it's interesting and it's pretty, but I'm not spending a bajillion years on it. Like it's still going to be a quicker knit, and each square will be small enough that I can knit it on the train, and I'm going to sew them all together. But yeah, I had no acrylic. So first thing I got was this Loops and Threads impeccable acrylic in this pale green that I thought would be a pretty like secondary contrast color. It's 285 yards. I did all smaller balls of the colors, smaller balls, and then one big ball of plain color. But yeah, I'm looking for the color name. Does it have a color name? 01799, but just this nice pale green. And then the other two are just their soft classic acrylic loops and threads. This one is the color, why is it so hard to find the color? Oh, blush. This is nice pink. A little like, not like a super, some of those baby pinks are like so bright. This one's a little softer, which I felt I liked better. And the same thing for this blue, which is really pretty. This one is ice blue. I thought this was nice, a little more muted. And then this is a really big ball. I wouldn't normally buy this, but specifically because a large portion of it is going to be white, I bought this. So I bought the Lion Brand Pound of Love, which is like over 1,000 yards, which is crazy. And this one is the Antique White. I'm going to cake this up into a bunch of cakes because I don't want it to get all tangled and then be worthless. That would not be of any value to me. So I'm going to try and hold them all together so I can show them together. Ah, there you go. Hopefully you can see that. But I'll probably do, like, I was thinking sorry, I keep bumping the mic now. I'm trying to hold these all. This is not going well. This is a bad idea. Okay, I can kind of hold it like this. I have no idea if you can see it like this. So I'm thinking like, this will be like the main color. I'll do like alternating squares with this. And then I'll probably do one with just these two, one with just these two, and then maybe one with like these three that I thought would be nice. Like maybe I'll do this as like a contrast, like a third color in the center Stella quilt panel. I don't know. That's my thought process. I'll figure it out. But there was a sale, so it wasn't too expensive or anything. And like, it's a fun train side project. I'm not gonna buy the Stella quilt like specific pattern. I don't really understand honestly what the difference is. I think there's information for like how to join them all together or like work them all entirely, but because I'm only planning on doing like that one panel for the center, I don't think that's necessary for me. Another part of why I only wanted to do the center one is because like the back, oh, my pillow is over there somewhere. The back is like all bumpy in the joins for the different little squares within the one square, and I didn't want that all over the blanket. And then if I sew each of my 9 panels together, then like it won't have that same bumpiness, and I'll probably just do a little crochet edge or something like that. But that's my thought process. So I hope that made sense. I feel like I was a little all over the place today. I've made some progress. I feel good about it. I'm excited to start knitting with some of the Noro that I got recently. We'll see what I start next. Maybe the Uris slipover, maybe the Brady Loop sweater. We will see. Please throw me a comment of what you've been working on. I love to hear about it. Or if you have any thoughts about what I'm knitting, I need advice. Side note, I am looking for a good plain men's sweater pattern, like a men's sizing, preferably in at least a DK weight, nothing smaller than that because that would take eternity. But yeah, that's my one request because you guys really have great suggestions sometimes. But I hope you have a great day. I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe if you feel as though you would like to do that. I hope you have a great day and happy knitting.